back to the Skips Tactical Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Avery. This week's episode will be all about situational awareness. I don't know about you, but this time of year I like to spend time with my family, give thanks, and just sit back and reflect on what's important to me. And I challenge you to do the same thing. Every week, I will be shouting out one of you amazing listeners. I can never thank you enough for not only taking the time out to listen to the episodes, but to also leave a review on your podcast player. Your reviews give me so much joy and they just keep me going. This feature will be in every episode moving forward, so go ahead, leave a review on Skip's Tactical Solutions podcast, and your review could be read next. Later on in this podcast, I'll be reading the review of the week. Now let's get into this week's episode. Speaking of family, this is an episode that you can enjoy with your entire family. And once the episode's over, you can go back and discuss it with them. Now let's get into situational awareness. What does situational awareness mean? You know, this is something that stumps a lot of people because they hear situational awareness, but they don't necessarily know what it truly means. We've all heard those people that say, keep your head on the swivel and keep your eyes peeled, but you know, what do they truly mean? Well, your days of wondering what the heck does that mean are over. Today, I will educate you on what situational awareness means and how to apply it in your daily life. But first things first, when it comes to situational awareness, you need to know what's normal for your area. But this can be done by just establishing a baseline. But when it comes to a baseline, just know that it will be different for the different areas that you live in. For example, if you live in a rural area, it's going to be different versus someone who lives in a city. An example of this is if where you live, if it's normal for people to wear shorts, if you see someone that's wearing a trench coat, would that be abnormal? Or if you notice a noisy area suddenly gets quiet, what about if an open area that's always crowded is now empty? Or what if everyone that's in the area that you're in just starts running? Would that be abnormal? You know, if you see someone that doesn't fit in that area, it could be their clothing, their behavior, it could even be their body language. You should definitely take notice. Not saying if someone's clothing or behavior doesn't match everyone else's that you should just freak out, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to always listen to your gut. You know what I'm talking about, those spidey senses. So what I'm going to do now is give you my definition of what situational awareness is. Situational awareness just means you're being aware of what's happening in the area that's around you. And by being aware, you can better understand how the information, events, and your own actions will impact different goals and different objectives. You know, this is going to be when you're looking for the things that just don't fit in. You know those things that are out of place. So let me ask you a question. What does situational awareness mean to you? I know that I can't hear what your feedback is, but I'd love for you to comment and let me know, or even send me a message. Is situational awareness something that you practice on a daily basis? If so, you may have had to modify your behavior or your actions just to be aware of your surroundings. Also, in this episode, I give you an easy acronym to help you to remember to apply situational awareness in your daily life. That acronym is OCOKA. O-C-O-K-A. Now that you know what that acronym is and how to spell it, I'm going to actually break down what it actually stands for. First thing is O, observations. By observing your environment, this can and should be any and everywhere that you go. Think of some of the places that you frequently go. You go to the grocery store, restaurants, gas stations, also your workplace. While you're there, you need to be able to identify potential engagement areas. Where are the different places that you could actually encounter a threat while you're there? What about when you're leaving those places? And you need to be able to identify terrain you may be able to use as a defensive position. When I say observations, you have to be alert and focused in order to observe. Criminals attack people who are not focused and are extremely distracted. They're really on the lookout for easy prey. So when you're out, stay off electronics, keep your head up, pay attention, and keep a look of confidence at all times. When you're observing your environment, it's location dependent. Alright, so next is cover and concealment. Cover protects you from getting hit by a bullet, whether it may be directly or indirectly. Are there any vehicles, buildings, or objects that are near you that you could use to stop a bullet? A side note, certain terrain may also be used to provide cover. But on the other hand, concealment may protect you from being observed. Next is O, obstacles. Obstacles can be man-made or natural. Obstacles are anything that can impede, stop, or slow you and even your enemy down. Think of turnstiles. They're a great example of an obstacle. Trees, ditches, weather such as snow or even heavy rain can also be an obstacle. Next is K, key terrain. Key terrain are just areas that give you a tactical advantage. And we all want a tactical advantage. Such as having high ground. Something as simple as while you're in a restaurant, not sitting with your back to entry and exit points gives you a great tactical advantage. And lastly, avenues of approach. In layman's terms, this is the way in which an enemy or threat can approach you. Is there a door or several doors that will allow someone entry into your location? Or are you located in a dead end? To sum this all up, OCOKA, observations, covering concealment, obstacles, key terrain, and avenues of approach. Those are all part of OCOKA. Feel free to go back through if you need to. To recap, this does not mean that you should be paranoid. Situational awareness can and should be used during your daily commute to and from work. You should be able to identify different choke points along your route. If you don't know what a choke point is an area that creates a bottleneck. It could be a bridge or tunnel. Honestly, you're just most vulnerable when you're located in those areas. Can you really think of any choke points along your route? I don't know about you, but I definitely have many along my route, and I just can't avoid them. Also, you should be able to identify the safe areas along your route. Safe areas are places such as police stations and hospitals. I know that I gave you a lot of information in this episode, but just know that this can help you become more proactive in anticipating and understanding tendencies and tactics to help you avoid, plan, and escape those bad situations. I hope that you have a better understanding of exactly what situational awareness is, but you can even run through different scenarios in your head to plan what you would actually do in the event that something happened. Now let's take a quick break and discuss this week's review of the week. This review is from Ashley Ingram in iTunes. She said, "I absolutely love this episode. I completely agree with all the points Avery hit. As a female and a mom, I'm completely on board with safely learning to shoot a firearm and with teaching my children to safely shoot a gun. Thanks for an awesome episode. I can't wait to hear the next one." Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time out to not only listen to the episode, but to also leave your review. I'm also so happy that you're on board with not only protecting yourself and your family, but also teaching your children gun safety. As a reminder, your review could be read next by leaving this podcast a 5-star review in your podcast player. Now let's get back to situational awareness. Next, we're going to discuss some tips to help you be more aware of your surroundings. When it comes to situational awareness, you have to be aware at all times. A quick reminder, large crowds and gun-free zones are targets for criminals. Earlier, I went over observing your environment, which depends on your location. Another thing is using your senses. You don't want to mainly rely on your visual cues. If you hear gunshots or you hear people yelling or an argument breaks out, then those are things that you need to be aware of as well. Next is you want to read someone's body language. When it comes to body language, it's extremely important. You can use body language to assess a situation. Body language is a language that we all speak, and it's kind of hard to lie when it comes to body language. Your nonverbals can reveal the true intentions that you have. Words may not necessarily be heard, but your body language can always be read. So if you're alert and you're reading someone's body language, you may be able to avoid a situation. Clear your mind. Try to keep a lot of those distractions to a minimum, because when your mind is cloudy, you're distracted and you won't be able to properly identify all the hazards that are there and the different potential threats. That doesn't mean that you should be stressed when you're alert. You can be relaxed and be vigilant of all the things that are around you. By knowing your escape route, which is next, you need to always have an alternate route. An alternate route can be when you've actually thought about those obstacles that are in your way, you know a way around them. So wherever you go, you want to be able to avoid or escape any imminent danger and avoid those obstacles. Whenever you're in a restaurant or a movie theater, take note of where their emergency exits are. You never know when there may be a fire or an active shooter. All of this is essentially part of having a plan, but make sure that you know when you can properly defend yourself or when you just need to walk away. This is extremely important if you do have a concealed weapon. By having that concrete plan and implementing your OCOKA, by having this plan, you'll be able to properly plan out how you will defend yourself, or maybe you'll just be able to plan how to read someone else's body language and avoid the situation altogether. I truly hope that you implement situational awareness in your everyday life. This can be something that you do not only by yourself, but as a family. Your children can benefit from this as well. I'll give you a few examples of how I implement situational awareness throughout my life. I typically try to avoid large crowds and gun-free zones because I know they're targeted by criminals. Another thing that I do is I use my senses. Whenever I'm wearing headphones, I try to keep one ear clear so that I can hear things that are going on around me. I also try to stay alert and focused because I know if I'm not focused, then I may be targeted. If I'm walking into the grocery store, then my focus is on walking into the grocery store. My focus is not on Facebook, Instagram, or any of those things. Alright, well that's it for this week's episode. Hopefully it'll give you some things to think about. If you're not following me on Facebook and Instagram at Skip's Tactical Solutions, what are you waiting for? I do a weekly live video on Facebook and Instagram where I answer questions sent in to me. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast if you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to head over to skipstacticalsolutions.com where you can pick up a gift for that person that you love. I hope that you will join us for our next episode and have a great week.